Hi there, it's Tammy here. And in this short video, we're going to talk about a link I believe exists between something called fundamental attribution error and fearing childbirth. And we're also going to look at what might happen if you ignore any fears that you have relating to your childbirth, and why I don't believe that following generic, free, online pregnancy workouts are going to give you the support across the 4 pillars of health that you genuinely require and genuinely need when it comes to pregnancy, your childbirth, and your postnatal recovery journey. Now, if you haven't watched the first video on the connection between training during pregnancy and your fears around childbirth, I would highly recommend that you go back and watch that particular video before continuing on to watch this one, because it's kind of like a bit of a 2-part series, I'd say. And I think it's safe to say, or in my eyes, I believe that if you've watched these 2 videos, then the likelihood that you're going to experience the more negative impacts that stem from ignoring your fears around childbirth actually dramatically decreases. Why? Because once you have the knowledge or the awareness gained through education, then your understanding around the cause of something actually increases. So while, yes, of course, knowledge and understanding, although they're 2 different concepts, they're actually really closely interrelated. And I believe in this particular instance, when you gain knowledge around the various common themes that fearing childbirth, fall under, you actually have a greater ability to understand what might be causing that fear within you. And of course, the greater understanding, or shall we say, or maybe use the term self-awareness. So the greater your kind of self-awareness that you have of what's causing your fears, then the greater your ability is to address it and then move through it. And in the previous video, we spoke about the common themes among fear of childbirth, and included in that video's description is a link to something called the Fear of Childbirth Questionnaire, which was designed to help pinpoint which areas are causing you concern and to what degree they are causing you concern, right? And this is typically used by healthcare providers. However, you could use it to determine whether a conversation needs to be opened up with your healthcare provider. But always remember, if in doubt, it is absolutely always better to err on the side of caution and speak to your healthcare provider around any fears that you might have. The previous video also contained various options that might actually help alleviate your fears, from writing it down and sharing it in my complimentary but private community. And of course, if you're interested in applying to join my community, you'll find the application link in the bio or in the video description. And another option that I believe, or I highly believe in, is speaking with a perinatal mental health specialist. And my previous video also included actionable points with things like birth prep with a specialist women's health physiotherapist or doing a birthing course. And while I'm not saying that this will completely alleviate your fears, I believe that all of these things can certainly help to decrease them. Now, as many of us know, it's actually much easier to see things in others than it is to see them in ourselves. So what happens if you're not able to step back or take a step back and self-analyze and self-assess to really acknowledge how you're feeling, or more specifically, truly acknowledge the fears that you have around your childbirth? Or taking this even further, what happens if you're in complete denial about them, right? And let's be real here. Many of us view ourselves differently than how we view others. We actually tend to hold ourselves to different standards than we hold others to. We tend to give ourselves a break in certain situations, but not others. Or we think that won't happen to me. Now, a perfect example of this happened actually just the other day. So I was having dinner with a friend, and she ran, I think maybe 15, almost 20 minutes late, I think, to dinner. Now, during the course of this particular dinner, we just happened to have a conversation about a friend of hers that always runs late, and how disrespectful it is to run late, and how it shows that, they don't value her time. So you can kind of see what I mean here. Now, granted, this particular friend is typically on time, and please know, I'm only using this as an example, because for me, this is actually a perfect example of something called fundamental attribution error, and kind of reiterates my earlier point that we tend to view ourselves differently than we view others. We think, oh, we wouldn't do that, or that wouldn't happen to me. So what is fundamental attribution error, and why on earth am I talking about it in relation to fearing childbirth? I'm sure you're asking that question. So fundamental attribution error is actually a natural cognitive tendency. It's a form of cognitive bias that refers to people's tendency to believe that other people's personality traits or their personality variables have more influence on their actions compared to other factors over which they don't have control over, right? Otherwise known as situational variables. And another great example of this would be, say, like seeing someone run a red light and thinking to yourself, what a dickhead. However, if you're in labor and your husband is driving you to the hospital and runs 5 red lights to get you there faster, suddenly running red lights isn't such a dickhead move anymore, right? So you can see what I mean. So a fundamental attribution error actually sees you tying a person's actions to their character without actually considering all the other circumstances which might lead them to taking those particular actions. However, when it comes to you doing the same exact thing, you take into account all of the other mitigating circumstances that led you to take that action and make allowances for yourself based on the situation. So your husband isn't a dickhead. Well, actually, at least I hope he isn't seeing you having a baby with him, but that's beside the point. And you know why he's running the red light, which gives you a different perspective on running red lights than you had maybe when you saw someone else doing it and thought, what a dickhead. Maybe they were running to get to their partner to take them to the hospital. You know what I mean? But that red light example isn't why I'm referring to a fundamental attribution error in the sense of fearing childbirth. The reason why I bring it up is because it makes you see yourself as better than you are, and it stops you from placing your own behavior in a more real context. So I'm challenging you right now not to have the mindset of, this won't happen to me, or thinking to yourself that this doesn't apply to me, because it actually does, and because fear can be irrational and does really, really strange things to all of us. Don't believe me? Next time you're home alone at night, turn out all the lights and put on a really scary movie like Saw and just see what happens. Because the thing is that fear is experienced in your mind, but it triggers a strong physical reaction in your body. So as soon as you recognize fear, your amygdala, which is the small organ in the middle of your brain, it fires up. It alerts your nervous system, which sets your whole body's fear response into motion. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released. Your blood pressure and heart rate increase. You start breathing faster. Even your blood flow changes. So blood actually flows away from your heart and into your limbs, making it easier for you to start throwing punches or running for your life. Your body is literally preparing for the fight, flight, or freeze response. And fear also affects your brain and your ability to make rational decisions. As some parts of your brain are firing up, others are actually shutting down. And when the amygdala senses fear, the cerebral cortex, or the area of your brain that houses reasoning and judgment, it actually becomes impaired, making it difficult to make good decisions or think clearly. Now, imagine all of this when it comes to childbirth, which actually relies heavily on hormones. And you'll see where I'm tying all this in together. Now, one of those hormones is actually oxytocin. And of course, I go into much greater detail on hormones in the pregnancy process program. But for the purpose of this particular video, oxytocin is a key player in the hormones of labor. It helps create contractions, and it causes those contractions to get longer, stronger, and closer together. And these factors facilitate the cervical changes that are needed for birth, right? Now, stress hormones, including adrenaline, actually work in direct opposition to the release of oxytocin. And remember, the key hormones in fear are adrenaline and cortisol. So the more fear, tension, and anxiety a woman experiences or you experience in labor, the more adrenaline that she can release, which can directly affect labor on a hormonal and physiological level. Then, of course, you have something called the fear, tension, pain cycle, which is a concept created by a British obstetrician and natural childbirth advocate called Grant Dickley Reid back in the 1920s. I know it's a long time ago, but this concept is still used today. So the fear, tension, pain cycle is where the more fear that is brought into the labor, the more tense a woman is. And the more tense she is, the more painful labor can be. I mean, it makes sense, right? And of course, there's a common thread when discussing vaginal birth that revolves around needing to relax during labor. And of course, no doubt that's easier said than done. But when it comes to fear and childbirth, trying to fight the pain is counterproductive. And of course, fear can cause you to try to fight the pain. Remember the fight, flight, or freeze response? So to help conserve energy and release energy when it's needed, you also need to be able to rest between the contractions, right? To help conserve the energy for the contractions, which is when you're expending the massive amounts of energy. Now, the thing is, being able to relax directly affects how well a woman can rest in between contractions and then direct her energy during a contraction to work with her body in labor. And there's no way in earth that you can rest and relax if you're actually consumed by fear. You might even become fearful of the next contraction. And our bodies are incredibly smart. They actually had to be from an evolutionary standpoint, right? Think about it. Our bodies give us clues that the baby is coming. And once receiving these clues, knowing that they are going to be in the most vulnerable position of their lives, pretty much, women would always then go to find the safest possible place to birth their baby. There's no way a woman was ever going to give birth knowing that they're exposed to threats like wild animals or members of other tribes, right? And remember, I'm in primal days here, of course, not modern day. But you have to remember that our bodies are ancient. And while civilization may have evolved exponentially, we still actually have ancient evolutionary messaging hardwired into us. It's because of this that if you're in a place of fear, your body can actually start working against you. Your mind may even start working against the progression of labor or working against you. So if there is fear, anxiety, or a feeling of being unsafe, it can cause the body to close or stall the labor rather than opening and allowing it to progress. And there's amazing stories of women being in labor and actually having someone come into the room with them that they actually don't really want there, you know, and their labor actually completely stalling until this person that they don't want in the room leaves, at which time the labor restarts. I mean, how incredible is that? And because, you know, humans are amazingly complex creatures and we have fascinating ways of learning through instruction, we learn from things like spoken words or written notes. If someone tells you that birth is dangerous, or if you watch a video that tells you that birth is extremely painful, or you read somewhere that birth is something for you to fear, or you're stuck in an anxious thought pattern loop, you know those loops where you just can't stop thinking or overthinking something, your brain just picks at it. Yet the thing is, you can tell I know that too. The thing is, if this overthinking loop is centered around fearing your childbirth, then going into labor is going to trigger some type of fear response. And a client that I trained postnatally in my face-to-face business spoke to me about experiencing a panic attack during the birth of her first child. Now, can you just imagine how utterly terrifying that would be? And I remember talking to her about it, and she said that when she looked into doing things like a birthing course, they all just seemed to be a little bit too woo-woo, right? But in hindsight, she likely wouldn't have had the panic attack had she done one. And going back to the fear, tension, pain cycle, interestingly, one of the things that I bang on about all of the time is education, or more specifically, the power in the pregnancy process is becoming educated around your options. So education is top of the list for breaking the fear, tension, pain cycle. Or more accurately, these are the 3 areas shown to break a specific segment of the fear, tension, pain cycle. So firstly, you've got education, or purposeful activity and supportive care. So education can eradicate your fears, which then lead to tension by replacing misconceptions and old wives' tales with sound knowledge of the anatomy and physiology of labor. Purposeful activity would be things such as breathing techniques, can of course then relieve tension, which could lead to pain, right? And supportive care can do things like provide physical, psychological, and even pharmacological support to decrease the perception of pain, which, if left unchecked, would then reinforce the original fear to begin with, right? And we've already spoken about why I believe education is so important. We understand why relaxation is also really important. And in the previous videos, we also discussed why it's so important to address your fears and ensure that you collaborate with your healthcare providers around a birth plan, discussing what options you're comfortable with, and what pathways or medical interventions that you're actually not comfortable with. You know, we talk about why opening the conversation and becoming part of it actually increases your confidence, that you'll not only be heard and supported during your birth, but actually be part of the decision-making process as well. And these are the 3 key factors that actually allow you to turn the fear, tension, pain cycle into something that they call the confidence cycle. And when it comes to the confidence cycle, we also know that when you can look back and know with certainty that you've done everything that you can, you've ticked all the right boxes, you've done absolutely everything that you can to prepare yourself for the birth, that you can't actually help but feel more confident in your body's abilities. And this, of course, is going to just add to the confidence at the time of your birth, right? And it's for this exact reason why I don't believe that following a generic, free, online pregnancy workout is going to give you the support across the 4 pillars of health that you genuinely need when it comes to your pregnancy, childbirth, and your postnatal recovery journey. Because the reality is, they barely support your pregnancy exercise journey. How on earth are they going to support you across mindset, education, nutrition, and training, which are all the other ways I believe you need support in? And I really hope this video helps you understand that while your husband may not be a dickhead for running red lights getting you to the hospital, when it does come to the fear of childbirth, you can't actually just sit there and pretend that the only reason that my client had a panic attack during her birth was because she was unprepared, and there's no way that that's going to happen to you. Because after this video, which I think has now run for maybe 15 minutes, we know that it's not true. So I'm actually going to challenge you right now not to have the mindset of this won't happen to me, or to think to yourself that this doesn't apply to you, because it absolutely does. And you actually have the power to decide which cycle is going to apply to your pregnancy journey, to your birth. And of course, if you want to train effectively during pregnancy and ensure that your pregnancy journey is supported across the 4 pillars of health in all 4 trimesters, feel free to head to the link in my bio or the video description and apply to join my complimentary but private community. So that's it from me today. I hope this video helps and you don't think your husband's a dickhead for running red lights. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. See you.